Well, Freedom Wranglers, we're back. And I'm so excited because not just Jamie and Chandra are back, but we've got Miss Meghan Lynn back. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are y'all?
We are so good. So good. It's exciting to have you back, and it's been a little while. So lots of things have been happening. I mean, my goodness, you're a busy bee. I liked all the egg ones that you did, your little egg TikToks.
Listen, that's right. I talked to y'all before I did all those.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Did y'all try any of them?
I did, and it was the ramen one because
That was my favorite one. That is my favorite one. That one, and then I took the Parmesan truffle eggs over to my mom's house for Mother's Day. So we do like a Mother's Day brunch, but it's after church, so it's like a 1 o'clock brunch, but we still do brunch. And so I did those deviled eggs and like fruit trays and stuff like that. But they were like so good. It perfectly complements a quiche. It was very good. It was very good.
Nice. I think I tried one of the commercial. I think he did a Hardee's. Was it Hardee's commercial?
Yeah, did a Hardee's commercial. Yeah, did that.
That's
was fun.
what I want. Anytime you bring a biscuit, anything biscuity, girlfriend, I'm on it.
If it's got a carbohydrate in it, absolutely. I am on board for that.
Right?
And dip it in gravy. Whatever you get, just dip it in gravy.
It's the gravy, girlfriend. It's that gravy.
It is.
It was good. That was a good one because I saw that and I was like, oh, it's clever. It's very clever, you know?
Well, I always ask them because different companies want you to do different things. And so I'm like, do you want me to do like a custom script? Do you want me to try it in my vehicle? Because with the candied bacon, I just had it in my vehicle. I just gave an honest review, which it was delicious. It was very good. But this time they were like, no, we want a custom script. So I was like, okay. So I'll talk to myself. Because actually, I had done one for the heart-shaped biscuit. I had done the Angie and Lucy for the heart-shaped biscuit. But then this one was more of the South Your Mouth, me talking to me style. Yeah. So it was fun. It was fun.
It was hilarious.
So cool.
I mean, you're talking to yourself. It's do you ever wonder, am I okay here?
Yes, absolutely. When I'm talking to nobody, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And sometimes I'll watch old TikToks. When somebody comments on it, it pops it up. You're gonna see and sometimes I'll look at myself and I'm like, who is that? It's weird, almost looking at yourself in a video. It's is that for real me? That's what really?
Yeah, and when since it started on TikTok having the whole thing where it pops up a year ago today, I will look at that, or on this day, I look at it, I'm going, what was I saying? Who am I?
I will look at old videos I've done that I've edited in a way that I don't really love, and I will criticize because I'm a perfectionist. That is my strength and my weakness, and I will criticize it to pieces. And so I'll go back to old TikToks and I'm like, why did I do that? I should have made it more smooth there. That didn't sound like I was talking to me. I don't know what that sounded like.
Yeah,
so I'm so guilty of doing that.
Oh, we are hard critics on ourselves, but it's are we growing out of that, or do we stay in that place of criticism?
That's right. That's right. Should always be in a state of growth. Always.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And it's nice to look back and say, wow, okay, I've come those first days on TikTok when I thought, well, we'll give this a whirl.
Right. When I look back at my first TikTok, I'm like, wow, I came a long way. But now
TikTok, when I first got on, it was weird. When I first got on, it wasn't like Facebook. It wasn't like Snapchat. It was completely different thing. You were like, what am I doing on this thing? I'm just going to talk into this and maybe get people to follow me. I didn't even understand it. It was crazy.
I was on a TikTok strike. My friends were giving me a hard time about it this weekend. They were like, you remember when you were too good for TikTok? And I was like, I wasn't too good. I was too old. I was not trying to dance with all these children on there. Right. I was not trying to do choreography. I didn't know what. So I didn't join until 2022. Everybody else was joining during the pandemic. I was not joining the pandemic. I was laughing at my friends who joined during the pandemic. But now I'm like, I should really join during the pandemic. It'd have been a good time.
It would. I know, right? I mean, the things that we were getting up to. And I mean, I have to be honest, it's taken me a hot minute to jump onto these trends, and I'm like, absolutely not.
My thing, I'm like, so many people are doing it. Is mine really going to take off? Why? I don't want to be a copycat. I want to do original content. That's it.
Yeah. I did have to do the one though with Burn in Love where you go from one place and you jump into another. That was fun, and that's an easy transition, I've got to tell you.
Oh, actually, I'm not going to use that audio, but we did that same kind of concept. So my girlfriends and I from college, we went to Disney World this last week. And so we were filming around the world. And everybody does like the drinking around the world. And I'm like, let's just transition around the world. Let's do that. And so we started in the beginning and we all jumped from our front doors, like right in front of Spaceship Earth, the Epcot ball.
Yeah.
It's called Spaceship. So some people don't know that. They just call it the Epcot ball. And I'm like, it's
Oh yeah.
anyway, so we jump like in front of Spaceship Earth and then we go around the world and we transition around the world and it's super fun.
Oh, fun. Okay, well, we'll be waiting for that one. All right.
Today at like, by the time people see this, it'll probably already be posted. But yeah, it was fun.
Cool. Yeah, they're fun. TikTok is fun, and it has, obviously taken off for you, which we talked about, on our last podcast with you. But what is going on? What is God doing? Where's he leading you? You shared you have no idea how many comments we got on that story about your daughter. Like, so many, it touched so many people's lives. I mean, the feedback that I kept getting locally was just like, that is powerful. And they were like, and she's going, I don't know why I'm sharing all of this. And I'm like,
I didn't know what led me to, I just thought, okay, we'll just talk about it. Well, and as a matter of fact, we were talking about it this past weekend, my friends and I, and they were like, well, we should go get a house at that beach where she got sick. And I was like, probably not. We'll probably go somewhere else. I don't want it to happen again, but I'm grateful that it happened the first time because it really was an incredible. I have never looked at God the same way after what happened and what we went through. Like my view of him is just so much. We put God in a box. And so after that situation, it just kind of expanded who I thought God was. And he showed me who he is. And it's pretty cool. But when I asked, because I ask her sometimes, like, do you remember it? Like, what do you remember? And she was 4. And so she always said, we had this incredible nurse that brought her chocolate chip pancakes every night. Like, we couldn't leave and go to Waffle House, but the nurse could leave the hospital and go to Waffle House and bring it back. Anyway, COVID logic,
sense, right?
COVID logic was just something else. So she would go every night before she would clock into work. She would go to Waffle House and get her a chocolate chip pancake. And that is what remembers is the chocolate chip pancakes. She doesn't remember much of the trauma. She doesn't remember getting stuck all those times. She just remembers the good things, which thank God. Like, I'm so glad that's what you remember.
Oh, that's precious because that's just like God to make sure that you remember the sweet spots.
Yes.
And that's our pastor actually talks about, like, journal, write those things down when God, the miracle journal, what he's done in your life, so you never forget.
So it's funny you say that. So I have a section in my notes and I keep up with all of the blessings that God has given us. And I mean, everything from somebody just blessing us with a free dessert at a restaurant to big things. And so I have a dear friend who started working with us in my previous job. She worked with us for about, 4 or 5 months. And we started having conversations about God and who God is. And she was incredibly agnostic, like just incredibly, like, knew there was some kind of higher power, but just didn't know what it was, and was raised Catholic and just was very, very into the religion side, very into the, more of like the ritualistic type of religion. You know what I'm saying? And so we started having these conversations, and there was one day that something good had happened. And I just said, well, we live in the blessing. And she was like, what did you just say? And I said, we live in the blessing. And she said, what do you mean? And I was like, well, Callie, God wants to bless you. Okay. I don't know where you are in your journey, but you just need to know, like, God wants to bless you. He wants good for you. Am I all about the name it and claim it? Am I all about you're never going to have a hard time? No, that is not what I'm about. You're going to have hard times because that's going to further your testimony and make you rely on him. But what I'm telling you is that God wants to bless you. And I said, what I want you to start doing is writing these things down. And so I made a note section and she has made a note section, and it is completely like, she knows who God is now. And just having that conversation back when she had no idea what was going on, and to now talking to her, and like, she has felt the love of Jesus, and it is the most incredible journey to watch and be a part of. I'm honored that I even know her story, but yeah, it's been fun. So I do that. We live in the blessing, and I write all the blessings down.
And even also, not only in the blessings, it's like even in the hard times, I find that I'm so much more creative in when I'm having struggles, you
Yeah.
know, like I'm almost, I mean, listen, all the country songs, right? There are a bunch of sad situations, but it's like, you know, especially like when I lost my mom, it's like all of a sudden I just started getting very creative in my writing and very passionate about, you know, what the Lord is doing. And I also shared that with somebody, a good friend that just lost her father. And I said, you know, she was just crying and just weeping. And I just told her, you know, honey, I know exactly what you're going through. And I said, some things that will help you. And I don't know if this will help you, but just let me know if this will. And I said, writing, write it down, write a letter to your father,
Yes.
write a letter to him, and all the things that you wish that you could have, should have, would have done, and just
Yeah.
let that heal. She goes, I didn't even think about that. And I said, and she goes, that was something that helped her so far these past couple of days, is just writing it down, writing
Yeah.
those things down. But I do find, me personally, that, you know, when I go through these, not that I want to go through hard things, but those hard times, just writing it down so I can try to articulate what
Yeah.
exactly is happening in my soul, you know?
There's always
So, I mean,
some sort of, it's like a release happens. Like when you write
yeah,
it, you write it down, it's like this release, you can let go of it. Even though it's like you're not
yes.
physically letting go, it's an emotional release and you can let go of it.
That's so powerful. Yeah, that emotional release and just letting go. And I mean, it's so cliche to say it, letting go and letting God, but
Yeah,
we do let go. It gives him that permission to just really work.
absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's
I'm
so
telling
good, so good.
you. He'll bless you in ways that you never could comprehend. He'll bless you in ways that you have never even thought of if you will just let him do it. And
Yes.
just all the time. Like, and that's another thing that I always say, won't God do it? And my friend responds, if you let him. Like that's just that's why it is so important to have women that lift you up and that are on the same kind of journey and path as you. Like it is so important to have people that stand with you. You know, they fill in the gap for you, they pray for you, they pray with you.
Mm.
It's so important. So yeah, that's what my best friend and I say. I will say, won't God do it? And she'll say, if you let him.
Oh, that
Every
is so good. I love that. I love it. But that's the truth. And I love that you said, you know, we need other women that are like-minded, that we can partner with in our walk with Christ, in our day-to-day life, that are there to support us, that are, like you said, pray with us, that will get down into what I call the trenches with
yeah,
you, the good times and the bad times. They're there, those true friends.
yeah.
And you know, we're getting ready to go into a series for the summer where we're going to talk about women in the Bible. How do we identify with certain
That's
ones?
exciting. I love that.
Yeah, we're so excited about it because you know what? Feminism, being a woman, has really been attacked over the past few years.
Oh
We're,
my God.
you know, it's like we can be strong, but that's all you can be. You can't be soft and feminine and you can't be gentle, but God's made us to be all those things.
All
And
right.
I love all of the different women in the Bible because there is a different kind of strength and character that comes through these women. And if they're mentioned for a reason.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny you say that. So like my one of my favorite women in the Bible is Deborah. I know a lot of people are like Mary
The
Magdalene,
judge.
the judge. And do you know
Yeah.
why? I'm an Enneagram 8. I don't know if y'all have done the Enneagram or not, but I am a type 8 through and through. And so with that, I love justice. I do not tolerate any kind of injustice for anybody. And that's just, I don't like, I'm outgoing. And sometimes when I talk, I'm like, they're like, dang, you are really on it. But I'm like, no, I'm just an 8. Like, this is just how I talk.
Yeah.
This is how it's how I communicate. I'm just not afraid to say anything. But what was so cool about her is exactly what you're saying. Do you know how incredible it was to have a female in leadership at that time? Like she defied all the societal norms. Like she was the judge. They went to her for counsel. Like that is unheard of. But from what we know, she was super feminine. She wasn't like, just some brazen, just like another one of the guys. No, she was feminine and she owned that. But she was such an incredible leader in what she did. It's just incredible to me that at that time that she was even considered to be a judge. That's a big deal to me.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. It's huge because that was not the norm. Women did not receive that type of accolade back then. And I mean, she went out to battle. She was, you know, she was all of the things rolled into one. It was like Xena warrior
Fearless.
princess, you know.
Yes. She was fearless,
She was
truly fearless. And
Like
that's what I
Sonya,
admire.
you know. She-Ra.
Yes, exactly. But you know what? I think that her fearlessness came from who she knew God to be for her in life.
Yes, she was
So,
comfortable in his protection. She knew his hand was on her, and
mm,
she walked in that. And
yes.
that's why she is mentioned. That's why she is important in the Bible.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's powerful. I love that, Deborah. Come on, we're going to
Deborah.
talk Deborah a little bit, but I mean, you've kicked it off for us. That's awesome.
I love her.
I love it. Well, I mean, so many people are like, yes, I want to just sit at Jesus' feet. And I'm like, yeah, but the truth is, I'm the one that works in the kitchen, and sometimes I don't
Yeah,
stop,
that's right.
Um,
Yes.
I feel like I got to serve everybody and make sure that everybody's got a drink.
Okay.
Gotta do
Okay.
that.
I feel you. I feel you.
Gotta be the
Uh,
hostess with the mostest.
yes, we have to entertain. We got to put on. We got to make sure everybody's comfortable. Absolutely. And it's exhausting sometimes.
Yes.
Like
And
very exhausting.
Yeah.
so then you collapse at Jesus' feet, and that's a whole nother thing. So
Right. Right.
Well, there's no doubt that Jesus was like, he made a whole sermonette over Martha, so
Did. He
obviously he
did.
was trying to prove a point with her, but it was in love.
It
Like he
was.
loved Martha. Like
Yeah.
he
Well,
adored
that's the
her and
one
he
thing
adored.
that's what I always love is
Yeah,
when Jesus delivered the truth, he did it gracefully. He
that's
delivered the truth
right.
with grace. And that is one thing that we could all practice so much more is delivering the truth with grace. And so yeah, that's a big deal to me.
oh, it really is. Yeah, definitely something that we can all adopt. So what else is happening, my friend? Like, I know that there's lots of things that are cooking. I mean, do you have other souths in your mouth that are in the process? What's
Yeah.
happening? Yeah.
My scripts, yes, I have a ton of scripts in the note section, right under the "We Live in the Blessing" note. We've got all the scripts and everything there. Been doing some traveling, went to Disney, came back, about to go to Disney again because why not? We live in Florida, season passes. Why would you not do that? But in about 21 days, I am going to be taking a 3 generations trip to Brazil. So my grandfather, my pawpaw, I call him pawpaw. My kids call him pawpaw stash because it's like you're not like a great pawpaw because that's like weird to say. But he had a mustache when they were born, so they just looked at him and said stash, and so I'm like pawpaw, that's pawpaw. They're like pawpaw stash. Okay, great, it stuck. Whatever. So my over the course of about 30 years of his life, he was a missionary to Brazil, and he built about 300 churches across the country. He worked with a company called Christian Missions Unlimited, and so it's an incredible story how that even came to be, how he was able to work in the mission field. So just to kind of give you a little brief on that, he was in his 20s. They were going to church in Alabama, I believe, is where they lived in Alabama, also West Palm Beach, but Alabama is where they were. And so I'm pretty positive I have the details of the story right. I know what I'm about to tell you I have correct, but I'm not positive if it was West Palm or Alabama at this point.
That's okay.
So they were in a church and there was somebody that came to speak about missions, and my papa was in his 20s. He was married to my mama. They already had kids, but he always felt the calling to do something with either seminary or mission work. Like he's always had the heart for missions. And so there was somebody that came and spoke to the church about mission work. And my grandparents they were very poor. I mean, they got married when my mama was 15 and my papa was just a couple years older. And so she had like 3 kids by the time she was 19 years old. Like, and they eloped. That's just what they wanted to do. And everybody got married younger then. So they knew financially there was no way for him to be able to do that. Like he knew better than to even ask. And so they put down this specific dollar amount that you needed to go to Brazil, I think is where they were going the first time was Brazil. So they put down the specific dollar amount. My papa's like, I really want to go. This is something that like I feel like I need to do this, but I don't know how, and I don't have the means, and I don't know. I just don't know. Well, Pawpaw came across this woman who he had no idea who she was, and she walked up to him and she had a check, and in that dollar amount, she had not heard the sermon. In that dollar amount was the exact to the penny what he needed. And she said, I feel like God has told me to give this to you. And I don't know why. You know what it's for, but this is for you. And that kicked off a 30-year ministry in Brazil. And so when I was 15, or 14, it was in 2005, I was 14. I was able to go with him and we built a church in Manaus. And we spent a couple of weeks down there, and it was a lot of fun. It was over the summer. Actually, we flew up through Hurricane Dennis, which that's a wild story in itself. It was my first flight ever. So we flew from Tallahassee to Miami. And then when we got in Miami, we got on, I think it was, go to Colombia? No, it was a Brazilian airline. They told us as the outer bands of Hurricane Dennis are coming up on Miami shore, they're like, oh, we can get up and over. Who can get up and over? We can't get up and over. They're like, yeah, we'll get up and over and it'll be no problem.
Oh my word.
My mama, so my mama went with us on this trip, my papa's wife, my grandmother. My mama went with us on this trip, and she had had some traumatic experiences flying. And when we landed in Brazil the next day, she was saying, I don't know how we made it. Because like the plane was like dropping. And I remember that. And I was like, maybe this is what turbulence is supposed to be. Like, I don't know. I really didn't know. I knew I didn't want to fly over a hurricane, but I didn't really know it was going to be that bad. And so, yeah, it was a situation. And now that I've flown much more since then, I'm like, dang, that really was terrible. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah. So, and then on the way back, we made an emergency landing in Colombia and then had to come back, which that was a wild story as well. I still to this day do not know why, but I know the armed guards got on the plane and were looking for things, but I was 14. Like I don't really, I remember being like, this is weird.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
We never got off the plane. They came, they were searching for things, and then we took right back off.
Let you go.
Well, wow. That sounds like something you went through, Chonda, recently when you went to Japan.
Oh my gosh.
We had a detour into Albuquerque. On the way to Japan. We were flying from Charlotte to LA, and that flight took a detour. And we were very blessed because of my husband's travel that we were traveling in the business class section. So we're up front. And we're sitting there, and like all of a sudden we see these stewards going back and forth, back and forth. I'm like, what is going on? And here are my son and I, we're halfway through our meal. And then the guy's like coming over and he's like, do you want some coffee? And I was like, yeah, sure, we'll have some coffee. Well, then he disappears. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. Maybe I should ask again. Hey, like, can we get a cup of coffee? Is that okay?
Can I get a heads up?
Like, right. And then we hear there's a medical emergency. So we're sitting there thinking, oh gosh, what's happening? To cut a very long story short, someone had OD'd on the flight. How they got that through, I only have one idea, and I'm not going to divulge what that idea is, but use your imagination. Okay. So yeah, smuggling. And then they went through, it was 2 double doses of Narcan with the individual. But he'd become like kind of violent. He was foaming at the mouth, punching seats. It was just kind of crazy. Then to top it off, 2 ladies start getting into a fight in the back. They're throwing punches. I'm like, what? I know we're going to LA, but geez, people, like,
that was bizarre.
Oh, it was insane. But prior to that, this is so weird. We were standing at a gate waiting for my son's wheelchair to come in Charlotte. And we see this guy getting on a flight to go to Dallas. And he literally had horns and a tail and like, yeah. And I'm like, what? Whoa.
No, not in everyday life. I'll do it for a TikTok for a laugh.
I ain't trying to not like that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, there's some, Lord, we're going to pray. So we just kind of prayed and went on. And then that happened. So we get there, they land in Albuquerque, and there are like slews of, fire department, ambulance, everything. So I'm watching 7 of them come on, then cops start coming on. And we've only heard bits and pieces, we don't know about all the punches being thrown. Then all of a sudden Boeing come on, and they're replacing Narcan and all the oxygen that was used. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. Then they say, just a few more minutes, people, we've just got to talk to the FBI. Because all this happened in the air. So we're just waiting for them to get here.
Oh, no.
So yes, 2 hours later, we finally taxi out and hit LA again. But it was an adventure, let me tell you. I mean.
It makes for a good story.
It sure does. And, I hope that individual is okay. And maybe it was a wake-up call for them. Addiction.
Needless to say, I'm not getting on an airplane anytime soon from y'all's stories. Okay. I'm not getting on it.
Oh, that's like 20 years ago. My story is old.
Hi, girl.
Drive across the ocean.
Well, that's why when people ask me, are you afraid of a hurricane? I'm like, no, I flew up through one. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, we went on a cruise through one. So it's good. It's all good.
See? And we're fine. We're here.
You know what it is? We're Floridians. That's our problem.
That truly, and I was just filming yesterday. So when we wrote out Hurricane Michael, did we talk about this in the last podcast?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we wrote out Hurricane Michael here.
Okay.
Well, not in this home, but we went out to the farm because that's where all of our resources were. And we knew that we could survive out there if worse came to worse. Well, worse came to worse. And so we lost this house, we lost our hay barns, everything, possessions, whatever. But yeah, like we rode that storm out and like during the storm, so it was like the fourth strongest landfalling hurricane in the United States, but not many people know about it because it hit the panhandle and nobody really cares about this area. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make for a great news story. So it came up through and the eye wall passed over our home, but where we were just outside of the eye wall. So we were getting the strongest bands for the longest period of time. Like we could see where there was relief, but we didn't get any of it. And
Yeah.
so looking back, I don't know how we survived. In the middle of the storm, I was like, we're fine. Everything's great. Kids slept through it. No problem. But looking back, I'm like, that was not wise. Like, that was the world. But like, we couldn't leave because this is where everything was. Like, we, some people left and that's great. And so people asked, they're like, would you do it again? And I'm like, probably think twice, but maybe. Like Floridians are crazy. Like whatever.
We really do have hurricane parties, and I think that's what people don't we really do, and I mean, it's like, oh, let's all just go hang out at so-and-so's house and it'll be fun.
That year that I flew to Brazil, we were out of school like it had to have been at least 9 or 10 times. I mean, we would have these tropical storms roll through. Even if they weren't named storms, we would get out of school because the buses can't run if it gets over a certain mile per hour. And so they would just cancel school. So we were out of school a lot that same year.
Yep. Lots of weather days.
Lots of weather days.
Yeah.
So going back to Brazil. So after 30 years, my grandfather, I went with him in 2005. My grandfather was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis. And so it's a really difficult diagnosis to get. We thought that he was having a stroke, but it wasn't. It was just his body's way of manifesting that illness. And so finally, when we got a diagnosis, they put him on medication, but he could not do any kind of manual labor anymore. And he does construction. Like he would have been an incredible contractor here, but he spent all his time in Brazil doing, construction work down there. But he couldn't do that much anymore because he would get so tired and kind of worn down very easily. And so he stopped going. I mean, he'll support people that go, but he can't go himself. And Brazil was his life. Like he has a legacy down there. And so I had been thinking about that lately, and I knew like he's in his 80s and he's getting a little older, and I know that his heart is there. And so I just one day was talking to him and I said, well, Pawpaw, because I see him quite a bit. I still have all of my living grandparents and I'm incredibly blessed. Spend time with your grandparents, because there are not many people that I know that still have all 4 of their living grandparents that they can talk to. So see him quite a bit. And we were having dinner and I said, Pawpaw, do you miss Brazil? And he was like, every minute. And so like he would come do like chapel at school and he would bring like all of his indigenous artifacts that he had been gifted or he had gotten. Like I'm telling you, I feel like that is part of my culture, even though we are not Brazilian. We don't, I've been once, but I just feel like because of my pawpaw, it's just part of life. It's just normal. So he said, yeah, every minute. And I said, well, if you had the opportunity to go, would you go? And he said, I would board the plane tonight if I had the opportunity. Wow. And so I thought, we need to go. We need to go something in me is telling me that we need to go do this. And so I knew that most of what he had done, like a good part of the work was in Manaus, and he has a lot of friends that are still in Manaus that he communicates with. And so for his birthday was in January. And he called me and he was like, I just want you to come for dinner. Don't get me a gift. No, I don't want anything like that. And so I was like, okay, no problem. So we get to the house and we're sitting around and I just got him a card. And so after dinner, he was opening cards and gifts or whatever. And so he opened the card from me. And I said, now, Papa, I want to go ahead and tell you, the gift that I got for you ain't going to fit in that card. Like I can't, but it's coming. It's coming. Just wait. And he was like, is it outside? And I was like, nah, it's bigger than that. He said, well, what is it? And I said, well, this year we're going to take you back to Brazil. We're going to go back home for you. Tears, cried, done, can't even talk about it. And he was like, what? Are you sure? And I was like, yep, I know what medications you need to take. I've booked the hotel. I'm going to book the flight as soon as you tell me the correct dates. I've got everything. Everything's done. We're going. And so, yeah. And so my dad has never been. So that's what's so crazy. Even though my papa went for 30 years, he only had one son that went with him just a couple of times down there. And I was the only grandchild to ever go with him down there. And there's like 13 of us. And so, yeah, we have a big family on that side. So my dad was like, well, I want to go. Cause I was telling my dad, I was like, you need to see the legacy he's built. That is a big deal. Like we've got to go. And so we're just going, three of us, Pawpaw, my dad, and me.
Oh, wow. That's going to be very, very special. That's
Yeah, it'll be really cool. I'm excited. I'm super excited. The last time we went, we would see the meeting of the waters. We went fishing. We saw everything we needed to see. It's really cool. I love Brazil. It's a beautiful country.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So does your grandfather speak Portuguese? Or
I actually speak a little bit of
you
Portuguese.
speak Portuguese as well? Fantastic.
Pouco, pouco. Eu preciso de praticar. I need more practice, but
Oh, that
I,
is so awesome. Oh,
it's
wow.
fun.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a nice party trick.
Oh, I bet. Because so many people will say, oh, Brazil, they speak Spanish. And you're like, no, it's Portuguese, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and what's funny too, like a lot of people think that Brazil is the Amazon, and it's not. The Amazon is not all of Brazil. When you look at São Paulo and you look at Rio, like when you look at all of these big metropolitan areas, that's like New York. Like it's not just all the Amazon. Now we are going to the Amazon because that's where Manaus is. So Manaus, kind of boomed up whenever there was the rubber boom. And so there's a lot of like European influence in their architecture there, which I'm like an architecture nerd because of what I did. So there's a lot of European influence, but the rubber boom ultimately is what led to Manaus growing like it did. Yeah, so it's really cool. And it's really fun to like just learn about the indigenous culture that's there and to go fishing for piranhas and, you know, just
You could do
all the
piranha.
wildlife. Yeah, I'm like, I'm here for the animals. I want to snuggle all the animals.
You gonna snuggle a piranha?
Give him a big old
Snuggle the
kiss.
piranha. Probably won't snuggle the piranha. Maybe the pink dolphin, but not the piranha.
Oh, yeah, the pink dolphin. So do you take like one of the long boats, like to get out to the location, or how do you travel there?
So yes, by boat typically. So you're right there at the port, and so it's easy access to go wherever you want to go because you can only reach Manaus by either air or boat. And so when you're trying to go all these other places, boat's the easiest way to go.
That's amazing. And I do have to ask like an obvious question. Have you seen Christ the Redeemer? I mean, that's
No, so okay, so I have never been to Rio. So that's where Cristo is in Rio. And so I do want to go, but I
I would
haven't.
want to go. Yeah.
I'm telling, that's what I told him. I was like, do we have time for like just a 2-day stay in Rio? But no, we're not going to get there. So what we will do is fly from Panama City to Atlanta and then down to Sao Paulo. They're taking us all the way down to Sao Paulo and then back up to Manaus.
wow.
So cool.
That's amazing. That is going to be some trip.
I'm excited. It'll be about 19 hours. It's like 19 hours of travel. What was your Japan? What was your travel time?
I think I have you beat. We were 40 going out and 42 coming home.
40?
Yeah.
Girl.
But we
what
went.
is that?
It's crazy. So they were 13 hours ahead. So we did time travel and we missed an entire day. Yeah. So we left LA at like 12:30 at night. So the following day, and then we land there. That was on Tuesday. So Wednesday morning, and we landed in Japan on Thursday morning.
That is insane.
It was wild. And then when we came back, we actually gained a day. We traveled back in time. So we were very confused. It has taken us like only not even 2 weeks. Actually, 2 weeks yesterday we got back. So it has taken us the 2 weeks to get over the jet lag. It was just so like,
wow.
But
see, luckily, Manaus is only an hour ahead of us, and it's the same time zone that my dad lives on. So that's no time zone change. I mean, you got your travel. So I think our flight leaves at like 3 p.m. And so we'll go through the night. We'll actually get to Manaus. We'll leave here at 3 o'clock and we'll get to Manaus at 10 o'clock the next day. So
Yeah.
that's really not that bad.
Oh, that's not bad. That's like going to Europe. That's like when we've flown back to Scotland and stuff. It's like that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really not bad.
Up with that. But we did, I mean, we were like, oh, this won't be that bad. We've done Australia, but this was a little worse. Because then I had this conception that like you were closer to Australia being in Japan, but you're
Yeah.
not. It's actually like a 9-hour flight from Australia to Japan.
I didn't realize that.
I know.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like when you travel, it really does make you look at the world totally differently. Like it's so different than what we think it is. That's
It really, really is. Yeah, yeah. So, and like yourself, it's so funny that you said that. My grandfather was based over there during World War II, and we have a
wow.
picture of, yeah. So we have a picture of him at a specific building in Tokyo called the D21, and it was previously called the MacArthur Building, which was where, General MacArthur was actually based during that time.
Oh,
And so I'd said to my husband, I said, I would really like to take this picture, go there, and then have a picture of myself with him in front of him.
oh,
So I've got a full video that I'm working on, probably like yourself, all these things I'm putting together of his travel. And one of the things that I'll share when I put the video out, but sneak peek for anybody that is listening, is that my grandfather ended up becoming a watchmaker, and that was what he was, and a jeweler later on in life. So during the war, he saved all of his money so that he could actually buy his toolkit when he got back to begin watchmaking school.
wow.
Yeah, so World War II paid for my grandfather to have his, legacy left. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and my husband and I went and bought watches because Seiko is, Japanese. So in his honor, we bought Seiko watches in Japan, and just these little nods to my grandfather. So he gets to travel all over in this picture with me in first class. Whereas before, he traveled on a big old naval ship, not knowing where he was going to end up, what he was walking into, or if he'd come home. So
oh my gosh. How impactful.
yeah, he was a pretty awesome man. So it's like I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is cool. And hearing what you're doing, I mean, with your grandfather who's still with you,
Yeah.
that's wow.
I was thinking the same thing about you going with your grandfather and how you are going to make these memories with him, and just, oh my gosh, to be a fly on the wall to see how he responds and how he reacts to things that he was so, you know, he poured his life into. I just couldn't imagine what his response would be in being with him. That would just be the most beautiful thing to see that.
And what's cool too, like seeing it through the next generation. Like it's like I'll never forget when I went with him to Brazil the first time. Like it really was very impactful. And what was so amazing, like we went to an area where right outside of where we were building this church, there was a cardboard village. And so these cardboard villages, these people will find dry cardboard to lay their head at night. But if it rains, you got to go out and find new cardboard the next day. Like they're very just, they have immense poverty. It's terrible situation. But those children, when they would come to the church, were so happy. Like they were just happy to be there. They didn't have a dime to their name, but they were some of the happiest kids. And I had some of the best time and like pictures with them. Like I will still go back through old pictures and it's just wow. Like we have so much here. We have so many reasons to be grateful. And yet sometimes we're still not. Sometimes we're still just not satisfied. But those kids down there, they were the sweetest, happiest kids ever. And even though, like, so at that time, I didn't know much Portuguese. I knew a little bit, but nothing. I knew how to say candy and ball, and that's about it. Because I knew that's what they would understand. But somehow, even though we did not speak the same language, we completely understood each other. So I don't know how that happened. I think that was a God thing. But we're also going to see another friend. So my papa has a friend named Zeka. And so Zeka was doing some kind of construction and he fell off of a ladder and he has not been the same since. And so he was one of my papa's best friends down there. And so he hadn't seen him in like 20 years. So we're going to find Zeka too. So that's what we're doing. It's going to be quite the trip.
I hope you're documenting everything,
I
girl.
will. I
Yeah,
will.
that's going to be
I
so
will.
amazing. I mean, and what you're talking legacy, but it's also like it's in your DNA. It's in your DNA. And Jamie and I talk about this a lot, about how we have our physical DNA, but we have that spiritual DNA that's been passed on to us from other generations. And For me, it would be my grandmother she just prayed and she taught me how to pray. And it's like, so I know that it's like, okay, that's in me, that's in my spiritual DNA to just pray.
Yeah.
And yeah, like to have a heart for that nation, because I understand what that's like when God places a nation on your heart. It's
Yeah.
powerful.
Absolutely. And even just learning how to love people. Like, we don't have to look the same or talk the same or believe the same for me to love you. Like, that is, like, I genuinely love everybody that I come across because I understand, like, what's crazy too. We were talking about this weekend, and that's why I'm bringing it up. We are the main character in our own story, right? So we know what life is like for us, we know our struggles, but every person that you see is also the main character in their own story, and they have their own problems that they're going through. And you may be a cameo, you may be a supporting role, you may be on the tech crew just making it all happen, but you're not the main character. But knowing that you experience that along with everybody else experiencing that, it really just brings true humanity. And it's like, wow, like we are all going through it. Like, it's not just me, it ain't about me. And so when you view life from that lens, it really does change the way that you view people. And it makes it a lot easier to extend grace and love people.
It's like living in the moment,
Yeah.
and I think so many times like we can be so overwhelmed by the future or our past, but it's just like living in the moment. So like
Yeah.
special occasions, or just like what you're doing and going and taking your grandfather somewhere very special to remind him, just being in that moment. And just like with Chanda when she went on her trip to Japan, and just being in the moment and in that time and space, and knowing her grandfather was there at one time, and it's just, if we learn to just stay in the moment, it's
Yeah,
so impactful to be able to reach people for Jesus,
absolutely.
in our testimony and who we are. I mean, it's better to witness to your neighbor than to somebody that's not available. Like, just living in that moment and being able to, and I know we've talked about this on our previous
Yeah.
podcast about just being able just to be impactful in our communities.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I agree with you. Like, we just should just really be present
Yeah, absolutely.
in the
When you were
moment.
talking about spiritual gifts and things being passed through our DNA, my papa
Yeah.
will tell you from the time I was like 4 or 5, I would say, I want to be a missionary. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a missionary. And so when I got to go on that trip, I was like, I'm doing it. This is cool. I get to do it. And so, life just kind of happened. And, you get married, you have kids. And now it's like, I'm going back and I'm like, I'm doing it. Like, I can do it again. But I realized, like, you don't just have to travel abroad to be a missionary. There is so much work that needs to be done right here, even in my own town. Like, every step you take outside of your own home, you are in the mission field. Like, that's what you're doing. And when I finally grasped that, I was like, I can be a missionary from anywhere. But it's really cool when you get to go abroad and do it. But
Yeah.
you can't be a missionary from anywhere.
Oh, totally. And with mission work, I think a lot of people don't understand if they've never been on a trip that most of the time God changes you a whole lot, and it's
Mm.
not what you're doing there that makes the difference. It's what he does in you. And so you do come back changed. And
Yes.
it's hard to explain what God did in you to other people. It's like
Right.
the experience you had is really between you and him, and those people that were there with you. But
Yeah.
everybody else is kind of looking at you like, well, yeah, but I mean, that's great. But how did like catching piranha and you're like, yeah, but you don't understand. Like,
We
we have
weren't just catching
Lynn.
piranha. We were doing a lot of other stuff
No, I'm
too.
just joking with you.
For
But
real. No, you're right. You're right.
and it's you're trying to tap into those places, and it's like, okay, God, you actually just did a number on me. That mission trip was about how you wanted to change my heart and my outlook,
Yeah.
everything. Because, like you said, we live in the promised land, and we live in a nation that unfortunately so many people take it for granted.
Oh my gosh.
You know, we're complaining about they took too long in line, at my Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. That's really what we complain about. And it's like people that don't have shoes, you go to Haiti and they're looking for tires to make shoes out of.
That's right. It's all about perspective. It really is. I mean, it truly, and you're right. We complain about the most trivial things, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like, you got nothing to worry about. ain't got nothing to complain about. Like I should be running for joy. I mean, comparatively, we do. And that's why I try to tell people, like, I understand that when you look around, it's scary sometimes. It's scary when you see what's going on. It's scary when you don't know how to navigate the future. But even our worst day here is better than a lot of other people's best days. Like our worst day is better than their best day. And that is something alone, that's enough to be thankful for.
Oh yeah. And we live in a society that wants it now, wants it quick. I mean, we're all on TikTok. We know, man, if that video is going over like, 2 minutes and 30, people are like, whatever,
I
scroll,
know. I know. And mine are always over that. Normally I'm like, and that's the whole crux, just changing the subject and talking about social media. That's the crux of like being on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Facebook, it doesn't matter, right? You can put whatever you want to. They're either going to watch it or they're not. Okay. TikTok, you want it to be over 60 seconds so that you get monetized. But if you post that same video on YouTube Shorts, it won't be a short. Like they'll cut it. And so it won't get the same kind of reach. And then with Instagram, it just whatever. So you're just trying to stay like for a reel. Like for a reel, you want to be under 90 seconds. If you're not, like you're trying to stay between the 60 and 90-second mark so that you can get the benefits of TikTok, get the benefits of Instagram, get the benefits of short, it's a
and not
whole
have to
thing.
do 5 different videos.
Right. Because I'm not trying to edit that much. I'm just not. I already do enough.
That I mean that's the truth. Let me and because we are kind of shifting gears and we're talking a little bit of social media, what are your thoughts about where TikTok may or may not be headed? Maybe.
Oh, I have thought about that. And that's why I've been trying to kind of build Instagram a little bit more, just because if TikTok is gone, and I think so, I'm still just trying to get all of the details. So I know that there's a ban unless they sell it, but there's something about we're only 10%, the United States is only 10% of TikTok users. So they're not going to sell that company for only 10% of their
Yeah.
margin. That doesn't even make any kind of business sense. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just trying to build Instagram a little bit more and pay more attention there, I guess. But it's
Yeah.
pretty sad because there's a lot of really good creators on TikTok. I have found like I've made a lot of friends on TikTok, and it's just, I don't know, I'd be really sad to see it go.
Yeah, because I don't think that you get the same I just don't get you with Instagram. I like Instagram and I've always preferred that over Facebook. But for me, TikTok is where I've discovered a lot of different people that are like-minded, like yourself. There's she's called Glam Bell Brandy Pope. She is another, amazing Christian woman that does a lot of glam videos. And it's just like, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, I would have never found you I mean, I would have eventually. But
But TikTok made it accessible and made it to where you can just reach out and say, "Hey, how are you?
yeah,
Let's talk." Yeah, I know. I'll be sad if it goes anywhere. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
it's just crazy. We live in a crazy country right now. Because I'll tell you, when we flew back into LA, I thought, oh Lord, are we on another planet? It's a different place out there. That's all I
Not
know.
the furthest I've been is Vegas. And it was really for a work trip. We went to food shows and we went to the Concrete World of Concrete show. Like we went to like big shows out there, like for work
World
purposes.
of Concrete. I mean, that's just a whole can of worms waiting to be opened.
World of Concrete. I'm telling you, it was a time. And then the SHOT Show. So we had the fancy food show, World of Concrete, and the SHOT Show all happening at the same time. So we all went, took our spouses, had a really good time, ate really good food, like some of the best food ever I've had in Vegas. And so, yeah, we spent, I think it was like 4 or 5 days. And it just so happened to be like my husband's birthday. So it was like perfect timing. Yes. So yeah, we had a good time. But that's as far as I've been. Been to Colorado, been to Vegas, but hadn't been to Cali.
Yeah, it's you know what, the like Northern California is beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
like Northern California, and there are different breeds of people everywhere, but LA is so unique, and we're literally standing waiting to get on our flight to go back to Charlotte, and there's a girl in her bathing suit with headphones on and slippers, and she's like cartwheeling and she's dancing in front of the gate, and I'm like, is there a camera? Maybe she's TikToking. That's what's going through my head, because
They
you
left her on the plane in a
they
bathing.
left her on the plane, girl. I was like, dear Lord Jesus, please help me.
I'm like self-awareness. Just be self-aware. If nothing else, just be self-aware,
And I just
Oh,
kept thinking, well, I'm sitting up at the front of the plane, so okay. You do. Boo.
see, even say? Like, what do you say to that? Hey, oh my gosh.
I should have been like, hey, I got some jammies on my last flight. Would you like that? Like, that's how
Here's a towel. Here's a towel. Cover up. Go to the spa on my account. Here you go. Here you go. Lord have mercy.
it was so wild. And it wasn't like it was just like a one piece, it was a two piece. And I'm just like, and
You know that's uncomfortable. You know that's uncomfortable. What's the point of that?
attention somehow, somewhere.
You know it's riding up in places it don't need to be riding up.
Exactly.
I would hate
I
to
wouldn't
sit.
want to be sitting on that seat after
I
her.
would hate that. Have mercy, Lord. Yeah, that ain't for me.
Like you see when you travel, you're just like, oh, what is happening here, right? And this woman sits in front of us, and I have never. I mean, I'm all about being, keeping things clean and sanitized, but
Yeah,
it's her own thing of wipes, and she is out and she is cleaning the whole seat. She is up at the vents, and I'm like, I'm just gonna be quiet here. Just chill. And my son's going, Mom, shut
one
up.
like that on my flight to Boston. I had one like that, and I thought, honey, you're scared of everything, aren't you? You must be terrified to breathe.
Yeah.
I can't live in fear like that.
No, me neither. And she wouldn't even have a drink on the plane because she was like, and I'm sitting there just thinking, oh man, how do you survive? You must go
Now
straight.
I'm gonna have that ginger ale. I'm gonna have my ginger ale on my flight.
That's right.
Listen, ginger ale tastes different when you're 20,000 feet in the air. It does.
It
is more crisp. There's something about it. I'm telling you.
That's the truth. And they don't just give you peanuts. Now you're getting pretzels. Woohoo!
Listen, there was this one time that I thought I was going to do something. And they have little charcuterie boxes. They've got the fruit and cheese, or they've got the meat and cheese, whatever. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to pay for one of those. And it was one of the bougiest things that I did in a flight, was have my little charcuterie board and my little ginger ale on my flight back from Boston. Good time. It was a good time.
Now listen, here's one up that'll save you a couple of pennies. My husband goes to Starbucks and they have one of those boxes. So he grabs those for his flight and then just gets the drink. And he sits there one day, he sits and he opens up sushi and people are watching him and they're like, I want what he has. And they're like, oh, we're not serving that,
So on my flight, I'm really excited because like I am a food person. That is how I experience where I am. That's how I experience the culture. Like I'm gonna eat every time. So on our way to Brazil, so because I'm really using this as an excuse, but it really is like my papa needs it. We went ahead and got those Delta One sweets. And so with that, you get like a full culinary experience. I got it because it lays flat, and he needs to be able to have comfortable, restful sleep on his way to Brazil so that he's not super exhausted. So I told him, I was like, I got Delta One sweets. And he was like, you didn't have to do that. And I was like, yes, I do. You need restful sleep. You need to be able to lay flat. And I'm going to do it. If you're going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to use an excuse, but we're going to do this together. So I get to pick my meal. And like when I get to check in, I get to pick whatever I want. And I'm so excited about that because it's like good food up there. So
it really is good food. Cause we were with, it was American that we went to Japan with, and we had the same we had the sweets, and again, super blessed because we couldn't have afforded that otherwise. It was all because my husband travels, God just, again, it's one of those blessings written down in the book. And they give you the option. You could have a full Japanese meal. And listen, it just keeps coming and you're kind of like, I don't think I can eat anymore. Like, can you stop? They're like, do you want an ice cream sundae? I'm like,
do I?
Okay.
At 20,000 feet? Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Well, what toppings do you want? I said, put them all on. Let's go for it.
Give me the whole garbage can, just the whole trash plate, everything you got. Man, that's funny. So I've never flown first class. This will be the first time ever. And really, I was able to do it at a perfect time. So I had a very unexpected Hardee's ad. They said, hey, will you do it? And I said, absolutely. And that is what paid for us to go to Brazil. I know, it's wild.
His timing is always perfect. Always.
Perfect. Because I'm telling you, when I started talking to my husband about how, hey, I want to take Papa to Brazil, he was like, okay. I'm like, let me see how to pay for this. Next couple of days, Hardee's ad. I was like, well, this is how we pay for that. Thank you, God. That's we live in the blessing moment. And I wrote it down in my notes.
He just drops it in your lap and it's just like, here you go.
Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't even anything that I'd even prayed for yet. It was just crap, how am I going to do this? how do we make this financially work? And just, there you go.
But it's the desires of our heart.
Yes.
knew the desire of your grandfather's heart years ago.
Yes.
Heard that, and he answered that prayer before he'd probably even had the opportunity to utter it. He just knew the desire of his heart and said, "Here, I got you." And
Yep.
it opened up the door for him to pursue that for 30 years. And then he knows the desire of your heart to bless your grandfather, to go back again. I mean, God is so good. We don't even have to utter it. He
He
hears it.
knows. He knows. Yeah. It's awesome. We're
Mm.
excited. I'm like counting down the days. I'm really going to miss my kids while I'm gone because my little girl is like, she's very much just mama. She is a mama's girl. She is just my little mini me and she wants mama. So I'm just kind of like, obviously I will FaceTime them constantly. What's nice is that we're only an hour ahead while we're there. So it's not like there's that much of a difference, you know, so I can FaceTime them or do what I call them whenever I want to, but I hate
Oh,
that's the one thing, like, I'm excited to go, but then there's that part of me that's like, who's going to hold down the fort while I'm gone? Like, who's going to make sure everything's done? But yeah, well, I've got a great husband that will take care of them, and my mother is here, and my other grandparents are here, and so everything will be fine.
they'll be taken care of. And so, is school out yet for your kiddos? Or
Yes. Yeah, yeah. School is out. School is out. Um, thank the Lord. It was not an easy year. Fourth grade is hard. Fourth grade is a hard year. Second grade, breeze, no problem. But there's just kind of this jump between the third grade and the fifth grade. That fourth grade year is tough. We had great teachers. We're very blessed with the teachers that we have at the school that they go to. But it was just academically hard.
Yeah, and everything keeps changing. I mean, math's not the same.
Yeah. Well, luckily for us, it is. So
Oh,
we get to go
yay.
with the old school. I ain't doing none of that Common Core crap. We're doing the old school stuff. We're sticking with it. It's worked for years. It's gonna be just fine. So yeah, we still do it kind of the old school way. I'm very blessed with that because if it was Common Core, I'm telling you, like I like math. It was a good subject for me, but I don't want to do Common Core. I don't.
Why do we have to change something that's been working all along? Did you have experience that, Jamie, with like Uriah as he was coming up? Did they introduce Common Core, or were you just
No,
stand?
ours was old school, and I'm so thankful because, all the word problems and all the different things that he had to go through. I'm just thankful that my husband was able to give him math baby brains to him, like all his little math babies from his brain. He was able to put upon Uriah, and he was able to experience it. He got really good at math, so that was his strength. Uriah's
Yeah.
strength was math.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
I'm
that's like
thankful for that.
that's how my son is. Like he's really good at math. He's really good at science. He's a good little writer too. Is actually he was writing some poems. They had to do like this little poetry section.
Yeah.
He's actually pretty talented doing some poems. I was quite impressed. But he's like me. He inherited that perfectionism gene. And so
Yeah.
he will not accept anything less than an A. And I'm like, buddy, I don't mean to tell you this. C's get degrees. I don't really want to teach you that. I want you to strive for the best, but don't be so hard on yourself that it's taking a toll on your mental health. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and he did. He finished the year out great. Daughter did the same thing. Like, we're very blessed with kids that don't necessarily struggle in school, but it just took a little bit longer to catch on this year than other years. And I think, too, like, the kids are starting to change a little bit. I don't know if the hormones are shifting or what, but there are some mean kids out there. Just some mean kids for no reason. For no reason.
They
So
just
yeah,
come into school with a chip on their shoulder, ready to go.
they do. And I've had to explain to my son, like there was one little girl that was so mean to him this year and would say things that I'm like, what? You're in the fourth grade. Like, get a life. Like, what are you doing? What's wrong? But it's like I explained to him, not everybody has a mom and a dad that are spending the time that they need to spend with their kids. Like some people have to work a lot. Some people don't have the luxury of just being around family constantly. Like it's really hard. And sometimes that manifests in kids and it's nothing that you have done wrong. It's just the way that this kid feels. It's an insecurity that they have. So we're very like, we communicate with our kids. We make sure that they understand that they have a grasp on mental health and they have a grasp on how you're your own main character, but you're not everybody's main character. So we have those kind of stories with them too. And it's been helpful, but it doesn't make it any easier when you see your kid going through it. Like that's hard as a mom.
And do they go to sixth grade, or do they jump after fifth grade? Do they jump to middle school where you're at?
So we are actually at a K through 12 school. So it's actually a school I went to when I was a little girl, and it's a private school. And so I'll probably keep them. I made the jump from private school to public school in the 6th grade because you couldn't cheer, you couldn't dance. Back then, you had to attend the school that you wanted to perform extracurriculars in.
Okay.
So now they don't have that. They can do whatever sports they want to in public school as long as they're at the practices. And so I may do the same thing when they get older. I don't know. I really love where we are. I love the curriculum. We use a Becca curriculum. I
Oh,
love the curriculum. I love the teachers. I love the administration. Like, I don't really see any reason to move them, but it's just straight through K through 12.
that's great. So there's not a huge transition because I know I've talked to a couple of people about just that transition, and it's like middle school can be so hard.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Middle school for my son was, he hated it. He goes, Mom, I feel like I was in jail. I felt like I was in jail. He goes, because, in high school, he's a 9th grader. He's like, there's freedom. Like, you can
Yeah.
go outside and eat lunch. You can do that. And like, there's more people. Like, there's so many more people you can talk to. And there's all these different clubs you can be a part of.
Yeah.
Unlike in middle school, it was just so restrictive. And
Yeah.
like, you're not allowed to go outside and eat. You need to stay in this particular area. Of course, there's no more recess. It's none of that. It's like gym, and gym is like very strict on
The
them.
work.
It's
Yeah.
work, right? So there's no
Yeah.
more playtime. So that's that transition for that middle school. So for him, for my son, he hated middle school. But when
Yeah.
he got in high school, like he said, it's his favorite. He loves high school.
Good.
So
Yeah, it's because like that middle school, like for as a girl, like you're not a girl, but you're not yet a woman, like kind of like that Britney Spears song,
right.
like you're stuck in the middle. Like you are. I'm not a girl, but I'm not yet a woman. Like you're
Yeah.
stuck right there. They don't let you do the fun things. They don't let you have the freedom because they don't trust you with it. So you feel like you're a kid, but you're like, no, I'm responsible enough to do those things. Like if you would just trust me, I
Right.
know it's a hard time. And like when I made the shift and went to a totally different school with totally new people,
Yeah.
I don't think it was as hard because I was the new kid. So I was interesting at first, but then like that 7th grade year when you're like, oh, you're old news, it's kind of like, okay, well now who am I? Like now what do I do? So it was fun at first. And then when you're just like everybody else, it wasn't super easy. And girls are catty sometimes, like
Yeah.
that was tough to deal with. But we
A
got
lot more girl fights from what my son has told me in middle school and high school. Girls fight all the time, like more than the guys, like just about petty stuff, like pulling each other's hair and just, oh my gosh. Like, so the girls are, like you said, they're a lot more cattier. I don't understand why they're a lot more aggressive, but I don't remember seeing that growing. Do you remember seeing that in high school, Shauna? I don't remember seeing girls pulling each other's hair.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
We were
You
in
do?
Yeah, yeah. And I actually was one of those girls who got her hair pulled. So,
Oh no, I don't remember that.
that's not
so yeah, where we grew up we were close to DC, and there were gangs and there were things. And I can remember wearing a bandana and a girl coming up and grabbing the back of my hair, ripping the bandana, and it was just like tied in my hair. Remember when we did Grease? It was like that whole thing, Jamie.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
remember Grace.
And
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
ripped it out and she goes, "Who do you think you are wearing our colors?" And I was just like, I'm not wearing your colors. I'm just wearing a bandana. And she was like, "Don't ever wear this again." And then she just grabbed a chunk of my hair. And I had really long hair at that time, just like give it a good yank. And I was just
Oh
like,
my gosh.
yeah. So for us, if we took a wrong turn down in DC, you end up in Southeast DC and you don't go there. And I did
No.
going to a basketball game when they were called the Bullets back in the day. We don't call it
Yeah.
anymore, but yeah. And it was it was only God. I was in my car with like 4 white kids, and they literally, this man, he's I don't know if I ever told you this story, Jamie. This is so fun.
No, this is the news for me. We went to high school together, so
Oh,
Todd
I
and a
wasn't
couple
with
other
you on this
people
part.
yeah. So we took a wrong turn, end up in Southeast DC, and this cabbie comes up next to me and he's like, "Roll your window down." And I'm like, I'm scared at this point. I mean, we didn't have GPS. I didn't have Siri to
No,
tell
we
me
didn't
where
have GPS. We didn't have
to
cell
go.
phone. I mean, yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I was just like, I gotta figure this out. He's like, "Just crack your window." So I cracked my window. I was like, "Yes, sir." And he was like, "Baby, you're lost." And I was like, "How do you know?" He was like, 4 white kids in a car like that in this part of town, you lost. Come with me. I will get you out of here. So he asked where I was going and he led me out of that part of DC. And it was like, only God, because that's where all the drive-bys are. That's like the worst part. And so, yeah, it was, we grew up in a very, like where we were was probably, I would say like 25 minutes, 30 minutes without traffic outside. And, but yeah, it was very, could get a little ghetto.
A little dicey.
Hoodridge. We
Yeah,
called it Hoodridge. We lived in Woodbridge, but we called it Hoodridge.
Oh, yeah. It's in nice areas. It wasn't like, but it was just like there was just this outer lying. It's a very interesting area, the tri-state, growing up in that area. But I do have to ask you, your husband being a farmer, do you watch The Farmer Wants a Wife? I know that is so cheesy.
No, I do not. I will not buy into the stereotypical farmer that everybody wants to think that it's just the farmer, the old good old boy with your overalls and your hay sticking out of your mouth and your little straw hat. That is not farming. It is not at all farming. No, we haven't even watched, which we really don't even watch. Really, because of the kids, we're super guarded on what we even watch on TV. Like we put a lot of things through VidAngel. Do y'all use VidAngel?
Yeah.
It's great. It is great. But yeah, so we watch things with them, but we don't watch anything like that. Should I? Is it good?
This season was really good. Nathan is one of the farmers. He's 23 and he's from Florida. He's from Central Florida and he is a citrus farmer. Yeah.
Do you know a variety of citrus?
I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah. So he had cattle and he made a connection with this sweet little girl she was from Texas. And honestly, they were precious. And I was just like, she said, I wanted a man who will pray over our food and will open the door for me. And Nathan is it. And I was just like,
that's precious.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was one of the big things for a lot of them was they wanted a man who loved God. And I was just like,
get you a farmer.
I think it was refreshing to watch a show like that where it was like, wait a second, there's actually women, and they were not all older women. I mean, we're talking girls that are like 22, 23 years old that are really seeking godly men that are not like, what the world says women are supposed to be like. It's such a wholesome show because these girls are like, they spend time on the farm with them and it's pretty cute.
They're a helpmate. They're a true helpmate.
That's exactly what they were looking for. And that's why the girls would come and they'd stay on the farm, but all the girls had the house and they moved the guys out into like a trailer. So he's living in a trailer at his own place.
That's fun.
Yeah, and I loved it because he took the girl out on an airboat and, does all the Florida stuff. And I'm like, people are like farmers in Florida. I'm like, heck yeah, we got farmers.
Absolutely. We got citrus. We've got all kind of stuff. We've got specialty crops. We've got cattle, whatever. Yeah, there's a lot.
Florida's got it going on. So, but
up here we have a lot of row crops. So like corn, peanuts, cotton, all of that. It's real heavy here. And then you've got some specialty crops like the perennial peanut and different things like that. We don't have a ton of citrus where we are. We have a few farms up here that have some satsumas. And so when you get Central Florida, that's really where the groves are. And they're beautiful. I love the way a grove looks. When it's in full bloom, they're so pretty.
Yeah, they are. They're gorgeous. And I mean, Jamie, you get that with your peaches. She's got peaches across the road.
My father-in-law, the peach farmer. So across the street, they live across the street from us, and I get to see all the beautiful blossoms. And right now, all the peaches are coming out, and they're huge. Like we got the big, ginormous peaches that they sell at the farmers market. So they're super juicy. Jealous.
Yeah. I want some peaches.
You love them. Oh my gosh! If you had these peaches, you would never eat any other peaches. Like now, South Carolina peaches are the best.
For real? So they're better than Georgia peaches.
Yes,
they are. I've had her. She brought me some peaches a couple years back. They were phenomenal.
I need
Scarlet Princess, China Pearls.
China Pearls. That sounds bougie. I like that. Let me get a China Pearl peach.
Yeah, you would love it. They're white. They're white and they're super juicy. And they're really good for when you make your, oh my gosh, girl, I should totally get you some peaches so that you could show it off on a menu and do like a peach thing and be like, these peaches are from Jamie's father's orchard, and let me tell you, these are the China pearls.
Send them to me. I will do it anytime. Do you put them up? Do you preserve the peaches any particular way?
Yeah, you can preserve them. We can preserve them, and we jar them and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, yeah, it'd be best if you got them fresh, of course.
Right.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
so I just need to drive up and get some and then just drive that. It's like what, 8 hours, 7, 8 hours?
It'd be about 8 hours. Yeah.
That ain't too bad.
Yeah.
Let's do that. For some
And then
peaches.
you could do a little clip and do a little, it's time for peaches. It's peach time.
This is what I do to get my peaches. I get in the car and I drive 8 hours. This is what I
So
do.
instead of that Justin Timberlake, we need to rewrite Justin Timberlake's song though, because he said, "I get my peaches down in Georgia." We're gonna say, "We get my peaches in South Carolina."
We do. That's what we need to do.
We gotta figure out the beat.
Entire TikTok. Well, I could do like a whole peach series. I mean, the peach is versatile. You can do a lot of things with peaches.
Oh, yes. Okay. I want to do peach soap. Like I'm seriously thinking about doing some peach because we have so many peaches. Like I think it's like 26 acres. So it's like we have so many peaches. Like I would love to do, because there's leftovers.
Yeah.
Peach soap, or peach oil or peach, just everything
peachy. I bet you could take that pit and grind it up and it'd be a great exfoliator in your soap. Like just thinking about things you can do with it. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it'd be so much fun. We have so many dreams. Oh my gosh. It is good to have a dream. Isn't it good to have a dream?
Well, like my head is like constantly running. I'm like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing we can do? Like I never turn it off. I could not turn it off.
That's okay though. He's wired you that way. And so
I could not. I don't know what it was. Maybe because I was excited to see y'all. I don't know what it was, but like I could not sleep last night. Like in my head, I couldn't sleep. So I was looking up restaurants in Manaus. I was writing partial scripts. I was doing like everything I could. And finally at like 1:30, I turned it off and was like, okay, well, I need to go to sleep. God, can you please help? Like,
that's what I have to do too.
Yeah. I don't know. Like my mind would not turn off. I don't know what it was.
It's, what, I was that way though, like last night, 4:00 this morning, I woke up and I'm like, why am I awake? What is going on?
Yeah.
I didn't, what it was? I got into drinking matcha when we got back. And so, yeah, I wasn't sure I would like it. And I love it. It's green tea, but it's the leaves that have been dried and picked at the like optimum time. And then they dry them and grind them down. And it is
Can you explain, like, so I've had matcha flavored things. Am I saying that right? Matcha?
Matcha.
Okay. Matcha. Okay, matcha. I've had like matcha flavored things, but haven't like had it pure, just the flavor. So is it earthy or like what is the flavor?
Yeah, you get different stages of it. It depends on when like the leaf was picked. And I was reading, I'm such a nerd. I was reading up all about it. And I'm like, so it actually originated in China. And this one Buddhist monk went to China. He loved it. He brought it back. And then it died out in China, but it became a staple in Japan after that. And so this is like their thing. And so they learned that if you pull the leaves at certain times, you're going to get different flavors. And so actually when they pick it, I believe this is right. When they pick it and it's still very young, it's a very mild flavor, but as it grows and matures, it becomes more bitter. So like we only bought like the mild and then the middle grade. And you do notice a difference between them, but I bought like the whole set. I was like nerding out and bought the little bamboo whisk, and I'm in there.
I would do that too. If you're going to do it, just go all in. Just do it.
I was like, I'm investing in this for real. Exactly. And my husband's hilarious. He's like, I'm over there. Like, you have to do it like this, like it's someone watching me in the kitchen, like God's going to be like, you did your matcha wrong. So doing all of this. And I'm like, and there's bubbles. And I was like, so here, you want to partake, you want to help, like here, you keep whisking. So I leave and I'm in the other room and I hear, bzzz, and I'm like, you pulled out my electric whisk.
Oh,
maybe. And he's like, it's giving us a better froth. I was like, but that's like disgraceful to the matcha. He's like, you're so cheating.
That's funny. So you're like a matcha expert now.
Yeah. Matcha. They call me Matcha Mama. No, just kidding.
Matcha Mama. Oh, that is cute. Not a matcha mama.
Well, girlfriend used to work at Starbucks. She was a barista.
Yeah.
This is fun.
So she's a professional.
That's fun. I
Oh,
love
it's
that.
so much fun. And you can make lattes with it and you can make it cold. So there's like so much you can do with it, but it doesn't give you the buzz that caffeine, it has caffeine,
Yeah.
but it's not like coffee. It doesn't make you feel
Yeah.
like this. It's a very focused energy.
Yeah. It's strong and
Well, I
it's
need
strong.
that because I drink two of these full of just black coffee and stevia every
Yeah.
day. Well, ice and black coffee and stevia. And so that's what I do. But I will get like a buzz. And I'm not addicted, but I just want my coffee. You know
But
what I'm
you
saying? Like I
Mhm.
can stop tomorrow if I want to.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have one, I'll have like one big cup of coffee in the morning, but matcha is like the thing I pull towards, like lean towards in the afternoon. And it just kind of keeps me going, but I don't have a problem sleeping with it. I'm not buzzing. I'm not like this, I don't feel jittery. It's just a
Yeah.
really good, but it's got great antioxidants. It's good for your cholesterol.
That's the key.
It's good for
Yeah.
your blood
Because
pressure.
I don't drink coffee after 2 o'clock. Like 2 o'clock is my cutoff. I will not have coffee after that. I don't care what type. I just won't. I won't do the caffeine after that point. So what you're saying is that the matcha will give you energy, but won't keep you awake.
Will not keep you awake. And I'm super sensitive to caffeine. Like I'm like yourself. Nope. After 2, if I do it, I am up all night. I'll be like, okay, what are we gonna do? Yeah.
I think that may be
Yeah.
why I was up yesterday or last night because I did have some coffee yesterday afternoon. It's a long day.
Yeah.
Anytime I get back from Disney, I have this lag where I'm like, oh my gosh, because I think the adrenaline just keeps you going and going and going, and it's constant stimulation. And then when you get home, it's like, okay, what am I doing? Where am I going? Let's do something. I
But we
can't
traveled all around the world. So I mean that'll exhaust you.
forget 11 countries. It is, and it is super fun to learn. And now, like now that COVID is over, it's just a normal life now. All of the international people that work in those countries. So, each country has their own international hosts. And so everybody you see in the restaurants and the stores, they are from that country of origin. So it's cool. I mean, you really do get to experience the culture walking around the world in the middle of Florida. Like it's a lot of fun.
It is. It is. Epcot
See,
is.
who needs to go out of country? Just go to Florida.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I just need, so, World Showcase has 11 countries. I need them to add Greece and I need them to add Brazil. And when they do that, that's it. It's perfect. We got to go nowhere. Like that's
That's
perfect.
what I want to do. I want to go to Greece so bad.
Oh,
Me too. I had a friend that went last year. She and her husband went and had the best time. And I want to go. Like she would send me pictures of the food and be like, "Look what I'm eating today." They went to some Alice in Wonderland place that was like bizarre. It was really cool. But yeah, she was trying to learn Greece before she went, and it was a whole thing. We were trying to see because I need to practice more Portuguese. I just do. Like I've lost what I've learned, and picking back up is not super difficult. You just got to practice. And so she was like, well, I'm going to do Babel Greece. You do Babel Portuguese. And let's see who learns more. She didn't learn very much.
yeah.
I knew a little bit more. So yeah, so she tried to use it while she was over there. But Greek is a hard language to learn.
Yeah, Kalismera. That's like hello. And yeah,
Yeah.
we
I
learned a
mean,
little bit of Greek because we traveled through there, but we learned more Japanese before we went. But my husband's hilarious. He's very good linguist. So he wrote
yeah,
all of these things on our refrigerator because we've got like a whiteboard fridge and
yeah.
practicing daily. He was like, okay, let's have a conversation. I was like, please
You have to practice every day if you want to keep up with it. And then it's different too, like when you speak it by yourself or you speak on an app, when you're actually having a conversation with somebody that is from that area with that and there's different dialects, just like in the United States, there's different dialects of Portuguese in Brazil. So trying to understand dialects and actual conversations, it's hard. It's not super simple.
No, it's not straightforward at all. And yeah,
And like
language.
conjugating verbs, like that's not easy. Like I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, and you live in Florida, so you just know Spanish. And so Portuguese is very similar, but it's almost like it has a French flair. So like they don't roll their R's the same. There's a lot of nasal sounds that you make. So like a lot of people, like if you say I'm going to Sao Paulo, like everybody in the United States is like I'm going to Sao Paulo. It's not Sao Paulo, it's São Paulo, São. And so it's a weird nasal sound. It's hard.
Wow.
It's hard.
Yeah,
Mm.
it is. It is. And I mean, we watch so many videos of like how to pronounce things correctly because you don't
Yeah.
ask anybody. And evidently Americans be like konnichiwa, and it's konnichiwa. It's like we
Yeah.
really on that.
You're right.
Mhm.
We need to be very
Yeah.
calm when we talk. And like our R's. So I actually saw this viral TikTok the other day, and it was this guy that they're somewhere in Central America. And it was this is what Americans sound like to people that don't speak English. And he was talking gibberish. Like he wasn't actually saying anything, but he was saying it like with an American accent. Like he sounded like a baseball announcer because our R's are very pronounced. Like R's are just a different
Yeah.
everything's in the front of our mouth when we talk, everything's in the front of our mouth. And so he sounded like he was speaking English, but it was not English. And I was like, that was mind blowing for me that that's what we sound like. And I did not like English all of a sudden. I thought that's a very ugly language. I really
Yeah.
don't like the way it sounds.
That's so pretty.
Yeah.
Well, my husband says, so my husband's Scottish, and we say squirrel. And he's like, it's not squirrel, it's squirrel. And I'm like, no, it's not
Squirrel.
squirrel, it's a squirrel. And he's like, why do you do that with your R? Squirrel.
It's a squirrel.
But he's like,
Girl.
no,
Squirrel.
it's a squirrel. And he's like, and he would point to like a female. He's like, what is she? And I'd be like, a girl. And he was like, yeah. So why do you do the squirrel like that? And I'm like, oh, it's just
Does. It's our R's. That's what we're known for. Girl, squirrel, world, pearl. Like it was just all the R's.
it's like our R's.
It's funny.
It is. But man, God is so good, and he's just taking you in all kinds of amazing directions, dropping blessings in your hat, well, in your lap. Might have had a hat out there. I don't know.
Either one. I'll put a hat out. No problem.
Busking for the Lord. Anyway. So you've got Brazil in the works, and then family time that you're going to have with the kids over the summer and stuff. And then we're going to be looking out for whatever you're creating on TikTok. Us, we're like
So
keeping
fun.
an eye on you. So do we have any more Lucy or Angie in the works? Or
There's some scripts. There's definitely some scripts in the works. There's always something, because it's constantly in our ear. It's always funny to me. Like I'll get a comment on, normally it's Facebook because that's where everybody just leaves their opinion, and there,
Yeah.
I got a comment from a,
so nicely
True.
put.
they just say whatever, no filter, it's fine, whatever.
filter.
Give them grace,
Yeah.
give them grace. They're a main character, give them grace.
That's
So she commented on there and she was like, well, you're not supposed to talk to the devil. And I was like, well, ma'am, I'm talking to myself. I'm not actually the devil. Like that's me. Like that's not.
Oh,
And
how
so
do people like that?
I don't know, because really I understand the engagement, okay, but you're supposed to fight
Right.
with biblical truth. You know who you are, and you don't have fear because you are who Jesus says that you are, who God says that you are. You have the power of Jesus Christ in you. And if you have that
Yeah.
biblical truth, you can speak whatever you want to, and he will
Right.
flee because you combat that with biblical truth. And so I don't
Right.
know, because the
And
truth
you're just trying to be fun with it too. You're not trying to be
Yeah.
super and people just want to turn it around into some kind of theologian, like you're doing it wrong. Like you have to do it this you can only talk about Jesus in the pulpit. Like you have to be a preacher in order to talk
Right.
about Jesus. Like it kind of gets to that point, and it's like, are you kidding me? I mean, did you guys see the woman that, what was her name? Mazel, where she wore the train with Jesus on the end? She had
Yes.
a train with Jesus
At
on
the
the end.
Cannes Film
And
Festival? Yes.
yeah, and then people are they're saying stuff like, oh, well, she shouldn't have Jesus on her train, and that was a disgrace.
I saw
That
those
was
same comments.
disgraceful. Like,
It's
give me a
absurd.
break.
People get offended by anything. And that's why I make it a point to be so unoffendable, because I cannot keep up with cancel culture. I just can't do it, because if we start with one, we got to be consistent, because I crave consistency. If you cancel one, you better cancel all of them. But
Yeah.
on top of that, like when you cancel something, what that's saying is that you're not giving that person grace. What it's saying is that you're holding that person to a higher standard of grace than what God does. And I am not in the position to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I just cannot participate in the cancel culture. I will not do it.
No, that's exactly where we're at. We don't participate. I'm just like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't keep up. I cannot do the mental gymnastics. I
Me
cannot do it.
neither.
I will not do it.
No, and it's funny because I posted a video about what had happened in Albuquerque, and somebody had commented, and the comment was about a family member that had OD'd and blah 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 and stuff. And I hope that maybe this person will never see this video again. And I was like, oh, I need to just talk to her face to face because I know her personally. I'm not gonna respond here. This is not the
Right.
place, you know.
Right.
But it was like, so I had a conversation. She was like, oh gosh, I'm not offended by that at all. She was like, I actually think it's crazy. And I thought, gosh, that could have been me years ago when she was an addict and that what God had delivered her from. But
Yeah.
somebody else took offense for her because I didn't reply to the comment. And it's that kind of stuff where probably, I would have felt pressure years ago where I was like, I'll just take it down. No, no, I'm not here trying to offend anybody, and don't try to cancel something that is, I thought it was humorous to
Right.
our family. It was funny, the situation. We laughed, but the other side of it was that, yeah, there's a serious thing and that this person needs help. And we
Yeah.
recognize that. But that person also put a lot of people inconvenienced a full airline, a full city, of different individuals that came out. There's like a whole list of things that go with it because of
Yeah.
their addiction. And so I'm not pointing fingers, but cancel culture just stinks. And it's just like, we don't play.
No, and again, I can't keep up with it. I'm not going to keep up with it. You either love me or you don't. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you
Right.
either way. But
And isn't that the point though, really? It's like people are just trying to be hateful,
yeah,
and they just want to try to bring you down, even though you're innocent. Like you're not doing anything to hurt anybody. All you're trying to do is share
yeah,
something, and they
Yeah.
just want to just tear you to pieces because they're jealous, or they're jealous of what you have a platform, or they're jealous because you have a voice and you have an opinion about something, and you're using your platform on the red carpet to show Jesus. I
yeah.
mean, it's okay. Like, that's
We have,
awesome. I'm proud of that girl. I'm
yeah,
proud of her for even doing that. And I'm not happy at how she kind of responded, kind of, almost pushing somebody off the thing. But, the thing is though she was making an attempt to share Christ. And I've been in Hollywood. I've seen how Hollywood people are. And let me tell you, they don't talk about Jesus. They don't put Jesus out on the red carpet. It is just not happening. So I was proud of this girl, and I just couldn't believe people were like, "Oh, she shouldn't have had Jesus on the train. She's the head. He's the head and not the tail." And I'm just like,
Lord have mercy. No, you can't win. You
you
cannot
just
win.
can't win here. I mean, it's with Jesus. At least
And
Jesus is
that's
getting
why,
some recognition,
right? You know what? I bet there were some people that were like, "Who was that? Who was that on her dress? Why did he
Right.
have horns on his head? Who was that?" And then
That's
there were
right.
probably some people that went and looked it up. And honestly, that is a bold statement of faith that she would even put that on a gown to wear. She could have worn anything she wanted to, but
That's
instead,
right.
that's what she chose to wear. That's a big
Right.
deal to me. But that's why I don't find my identity in the opinions of other people. Because if you do that, you never win. You're
It
always going.
reminded me of Esther,
Yeah,
of an Esther, like, and of a woman that is bold about
yeah,
her faith and could care less about what people think about her.
yeah,
And I loved it. And I feel like I can identify a lot with Esther, like just the being bold and
yeah.
not, just willing to risk your life for the sake of Christ, for
Mhm.
his goodness. And so I was passionate. I was like, maybe she's a young Christian. Maybe maybe she's not a super mature Christian on how she responded. Like, a little maturity, a little grace she might need how to respond more effectively. But that security guard was putting hands on her.
Listen, and did the same thing to Kelly Rowland too. Kelly
I
Rowland had to take the
know.
same security guard off. I don't know if it's they were just taking it too seriously. I don't know what the situation was, but I know that multiple women had to push that woman off of them. I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand it. I don't have enough details to form an opinion, but what I see is that woman
From
was
what
a
we
little
saw.
pansy,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Fans,
my
just like
thing is,
that.
aren't they there to like make appearances and take pictures? Like, let her have her moment. She was just trying to get her train straight. Let her have her moment. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Bizarre.
because it was France. Okay. I'm just gonna say that. I mean, I've been there. I won't go back. So
You won't go back? Did you go
I
to
didn't,
Paris or did you?
yeah, we went to Paris and we did Disney Paris, and my father-in-law lived out in the country. So that part was amazing. Like that's
Yeah.
the whole part of France I do love, but yeah, not the city. I'm not a fan of the city. It's kind of dirty. So
I have heard that. I have heard that Paris is not the fairy tale, charming, romantic city that is often portrayed. I haven't
No,
been. One day I
me
will. It's on the
neither.
bucket list.
Yes. I mean, I say, hey, whenever you get the opportunity to go to the places that your heart desires, go. Absolutely go. I would never tell anybody don't go, but there are
Yeah.
other places that I fell in love with more,
Yeah. Well, like I want to go to Italy. I want to go to Rome. I want to go
Mhm.
everywhere in Italy.
Mhm.
Everywhere.
Mhm.
I get the opportunity this February. It's the one place we never visited when we lived in Scotland. Yeah.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, we're flying to Munich and then we're going to take the train and the train goes through the Alps back into Rome. So
I
very,
bet that is going to be some incredible views. That the atmosphere, the scenery. Oh my gosh. I'm very jealous.
can't wait. I'm just like, let's go. So yeah, but very
You're gonna eat good. You're gonna have some good food over there. Good
yes,
food.
Mhm.
yes, you
Mhm.
know it. And we are foodies. Like we ate a
Me
lot of
too.
ramen while we were in Japan.
I will eat ramen in any form, any form. And I want like at least 3 marinated eggs, at least 3.
Yes, the
Ugh,
eggs are
Mm.
just, that's what I
Yum.
came back making them. That was it. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
making eggs. Could you have that for breakfast every day with salad? And I'm like, oh, so yeah.
and I love a fish cake. Like as odd as that is, like I love a fish cake. I think it's the texture. I don't know. It's good.
It's good. We did a lot of good street food when we were there. So yeah. Yeah. Foodies. I mean, come on, if you like food,
That's how you experience the culture. Like it's so
Yes.
unique. I love
it's the
it.
taste of the culture
Yeah.
is really what
Yeah.
it is. And
Yeah, some people experience it through their sight. Some people their smell. Me, it's with my taste. That's how I
It's
experience
me.
something is with my taste.
Yeah.
hey, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. So
That's it right there. And you know what? That's gonna be the slogan. We're gonna have a foodie club, and that can be the slogan right there. Oh,
Taste
taste
and
and
see.
see.
Love
That's so
that.
cute,
I saw
actually.
wouldn't that be fun? Like have our little club.
Yes.
I
Taste and
did see a
see.
coffee shop called Abendigos and they changed it to a bean to go.
Oh,
So
that's cute.
with the little fire
Oh.
guys in the fire.
Have a little Shadrach Meshach latte, and then a
Yes.
that's
Oh my
cute.
goodness. Well, God is so good, and it's so exciting what you're about to do, this adventure with, the generations going back and just highlighting the call of God on each and every one of your lives in a different way, and how you're missionaries to other places in the world, but you're also missionaries right here in the United States. And you're a missionary on TikTok, even though it's not like in your face. It's like one of your last TikToks just really was so good. There was these underlying tones of just understanding, hey, tell the devil where to go. And I loved, I was like, I know it was there's this tongue in cheek, but I was like, there's some more serious stuff behind that.
There is. And that's the whole thing. Like, I just want to present biblical truth in a way that it's easy to digest. Because, like, a lot of people are very intimidated by just reading the Bible front to
Yes.
or cover to cover, because it is a lot. It's a lot of information. There's a lot of history. And so, when you present that biblical truth in a way that they can digest it just a little bit at the time, then maybe the Spirit will say, hey, it's time for you to learn a little bit more. Like, that's my whole goal. If what I do impacts one person, then I've done my job.
Yeah. And you're doing it for sure. I see it. And so, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but I'm just going to throw it out here because it's getting recorded. I just kind of see the future for Meghan Lynn in lights. It's like we have like the next Shonda Rhimes on our show. I'm telling you. Like,
Right?
Y'all are,
we
listen,
want to
thank
bring this
you.
first. No.
I love y'all. Thank you
We
so
love
much.
you.
Thank you. I am honored that you would even feel that way. I'm just having a good time like that.
And that's what makes you such a joy to be around. You're just so real, so honest, and just so true to your heart with the Lord. And that makes you just a pleasure to have, show. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to have you back on, Meghan.
Oh, I love it. I love talking to y'all. It's like we're sitting around having coffee with the girls. Like that's what I love about this podcast. It's so natural. Like there's nothing forced. We're just having a conversation. Like I'm talking to my friends. You know what I'm saying? I love it. Y'all do an incredible job. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for gassing me up and speaking life into me. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. You're a pleasure. And honestly, I was saying to Jamie, I said, you know what? It's just so exciting because it's easy with Meghan. We don't have to pull anything. It's just like you said, it's natural. And
Natural.
I'll talk now. I will talk.
That's okay. That's what we're here for.
Y'all be in prayer. We do have a little bit of flight anxiety, so just be in prayer for that trip, that nerves are smoothed and everything is good and that we don't fly over any hurricanes, you know, just be in prayer for all of that.
We will definitely be praying, and we can't wait to hear the good reports of what God does while you're there. There's going to be something big. I just feel it. Like He's going to do something awesome through you
I can't
while you're
wait.
there. Yeah.
We're excited. I'm excited. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Meghan. We'll wrap it up here. Be blessed, because you are a blessing, my friend.
Thank you. We live in the blessing. We do. We absolutely do.